Alright, let's start with the 500 cm. To set exposure on a 500 cm, you use like on any camera, you use the shutter speed and the aperture dials or rings. As you'll notice, on a camera with an in-lens shutter, you set the shutter speed on the lens. And then here's the aperture. What's really cool about Hasselblads, and some other cameras have this feature too, is there's an interlock for shutter speed and aperture. What's cool about that? Well, what's cool about that is if you use a handheld meter, or if you're really good with estimating exposure, you can actually set your exposure by setting the EI, or the exposure index, on the lens. And the exposure index is sort of a very pure, simplified way to just say there's this much light based on what sensitivity of film I have in. So let's say I'm shooting normal daylight, and that's usually between 13 and 15 depending on the speed of the film, and I take a meter reading and it tells me your EV exposure value is about 13. So I set that on the lens. I don't even pay attention to the f-stop and shutter speed. Now I flip around and you can see that this exposure value that I've set has just sort of predetermined, just because of the way the lens happened to be set up. That's a 500 at f4. Now if I want to have longer depth of field or deeper depth of field, I can hold this button down and I can just turn the lens around. That keeps the exposure value constant while I'm changing the f-stop and shutter speed. I love this about shooting a Hasselblad. It's one of my very favorite things. So if I'm shooting in varying light, like shadow and then sunlight, I'll take two readings and memorize which EV each reading is at, and then I just flip this between those two EV settings, and then I'm free to change my my shutter speed and aperture settings just according to the shot I'm going to take. This is a great feature of a Hasselblad 500 series and other Hasselblads. So that's setting exposure on one of these guys. Now over to the 2000 FCW. It's a little different here because we have a focal plane shutter. We don't have an in-lens shutter, but you'll notice that it has a setting here called F. That's for when you're using a focal plane body, and that locks out. This little guy locks the shutter speed out. So that basically tells the camera or the lens, don't use the shutter in the lens. Use the shutter as set here on the body. So this ring here does not exist on a 500 series camera. This is what actually sets the focal plane shutter speed. So you lose something here if you're shooting a lens that's designed for a non-focal plane body. You don't get that nice interlock thing. There's no interlock because my aperture is up here and my shutter speed is down here. If you shoot an F lens, this is a CF lens, meaning it works on it works as an in-shutter lens or a non-in-shutter lens. It works with basically every body ever made. But if you shoot a pure F lens, the aperture ring is actually down here closer to the shutter speed ring, and those interlock. That'd be really nice, but an F lens is only usable on a focal plane body. So let's compare the shutter sounds of these two cameras. That's one thing that's a little bit of a bummer to lose. I know it's kind of stupid to worry about, but a 500 series sounds like this. And I still have the shutter button down. Inside, the auxiliary shutters are open, and that's the auxiliary shutters shutting. So this is the characteristic sound of a Hasselblad 500 series. Click plunk. You're shooting the focal plane body. I'll take the dark slide out. You're shooting a focal plane body, it just sounds like this. Not nearly as nice, or I guess it's not that it's nice or not, it's more like not nearly as full of character as the 500 series. Anyway, I get the advantage of higher shutter speeds, which allows me more flexibility in bright light with faster film outdoors, and that's a good thing. And that's it for this quick overview of a Hasselblad 2000 or a Hasselblad focal plane body versus versus a 500 series body. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back soon with some other camera stuff. Talk to you later. Bye.